Wild Harvest sweet potato and vegetable dog food review. If you want to check this dog food out, you can click the link in the bio. Click the link and you'll receive a discount. Probably, maybe, who knows. Without further ado, let's get into this review. This dog food is 25% protein, which is good amount of protein. The dog food guidelines say that you should have at least 22% protein. And this dog food is actually 25, which is 3% more higher. There's a lot of high protein dog food out there that I believe is causing the dogs serious issues with skin and fur because the protein is so rich and harsh. It's making their hair and fur and skin really tough and flaky. Next is 15% protein. 15% fat. 15% fat is a good amount of fat. Some people may like less fat, let's say 12 to 10% fat. Some people want more fat, 20% fat. 12% fat is a great amount of fat for your dog, especially if your dog is not living outside or doing any running. So 15 is a nice amount of fat. And that lets me kind of know that this food probably contains a lot of meat. Next, we'll get to the calories. This food is 363 calories per cup, which if you do the range on a high calorie dog food, most high calorie dog foods are really cheap. Most, not all. So let's just say a really high calorie dog food like dog chow will be 500, 400 plus calories, which means it's basically all carbs. So by this one having about a little bit less than that, it lets you know that the dog food probably contains a lot of meat. It's like a telltale sign because it's high, but it's not too high. You have some high quality dog foods like Blue Buffalo and things of that nature that will carry about 400 calories in it. But those dog foods are meant to compete with the high protein, high fat calorie intake. And if you think high protein is a problem, high calories and high fat could also provide some issues. So we're not going to get into that. So 15 is a nice mid-range number. It's not 18, it's not 20, but it ain't 10. So you know you're giving your dog some good substance. If you have an obese dog, maybe you want less. Without further ado, we'll get into the omega-6. The omega-6 is responsible for the skin, the coat, the growth, the reproduction, and the hormones of the dog, especially puppies. Puppies need omega-3 in order to regulate their growth. You want a puppy to grow, to its full potential. You want his joints to grow, his brain to develop. So you need this omega-6. I'm not quite sure what acceptable levels of it is or are. That's a whole story for a whole nother situation. You guys can figure that out on your own. Next, you got 3.3% omega-3. Omega-3s promote heart health, improve skin and coat, stronger immune system, and healthier joints. So omega-6s and 3s, they go hand in hand to help the joints, the brain, and the development of the dog. Very important, especially when it comes to the skin. We having some skin issues with our dogs, so we need this omega-3s and omega-6s. Next, we'll get into the ingredients. The first ingredient is deboned salmon. Deboned salmon is salmon that they took the bones out of, so they purposely used this salmon to make this dog food. Salmon is a high quality protein and a high quality fat. Next, you have chicken meal. Chicken meal is a condensed form of chicken that's high in protein. Next, you have sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes provide a lot of vitamins, a lot of fiber, and they provide sugars. The sugars that they provide are called simple carbohydrates. You got simple carbohydrates, and complex carbohydrates. I mean, they provide complex carbohydrates. Carbohydrates will have your dog at a steady energy source like this all day long. Simple carbohydrates will have your dog bouncing off of walls and going crazy and berserk, and it cause behavior issues, and also probably could cause other issues as well. But behavior issues, anxiety, terrorizing, chewing things up, and just being a nuisance, obsessive barking. Because when the dog gets simple carbohydrates, which most of the time they put simple carbohydrates in dog food, they actually are using sugar. But by using sweet potatoes, you're using a complex carbohydrate, and you're getting the benefit of a steady, slow breakdown of energy throughout the day, vitamins, minerals, and a lot of other stuff. One thing is the keratin in vitamin in sweet potatoes, the yellow starch, the keratin helps the eyes, development of the eyes, so your dog won't go blind and be walking into walls. I see that a lot. Next, we have garbanzo beans. These garbanzo beans are nutritious, they're healthy, they're high in fiber, they're high in folate, they're high in potassium, they contain vitamin A, vitamin B, and magnesium. So this is a natural way for your dog to receive vitamins, and they're a great addition to a dog's diet. Next, we have chicken fat. You got pea starch. Pea starch is something to help hold it together. The pea starch holds the food together because they're not using corn and different things like that. So the pea starch is a good complex carbohydrate as well, and it'll help stick to the dog's stomach. We'll get into that in the end of this video. And we got ground flaxseed, which is good for the omega-6s and 3s. And we got calcium carbonated. We got dried blueberries, dried cranberries. We got dried carrots. We got parsley. We got papaya, which is good to kill worms. The seeds in papayas are supposedly good for killing worms in dogs. You got spinach. You got kale powder. You got taurine. Taurine is something that's found in mussels. It's found in meat, and it produces something in the muscles to make strong, lean muscles. And you got yucca, which is like a root or a tuber, providing more complex carbohydrates, and something that'll stick to the dog's stomach throughout the day. So if you want this dog food, man, go on my link on my bio, man. Click the link, man, and get you a bag of this. It says formulated with omega-3s, omega-6s, healthy acids to healthy skin and coat, man. So it's supposed to be good for healthy skin and coat. So what I'll say about this dog food is we are currently feeding a raw food feed diet. So a lot of chicken and sweet potatoes and oatmeal and rice, but they are, it doesn't keep them as full as we want them to, and it's not as easy to give them all the calories that we want to give them and calculate how much calories we need to give them. Each dog has its own calorie intake, so we want to be able to give the dog an extra. Well, if this is 360, we give it 2 cups. We're going to give it 6, 7. So we give a dog 2 cups of this, we'll give it an extra 700 calories to help bring the calorie count up, because we're feeding all natural, and we're feeding about 12 to 1400 calories a day. Let's call it 12 to 1400. Maybe it's a little less, maybe it's a little more. But 2 cups of this will definitely bring us to a solid 700 calories. And we'll know that because we can measure it and calculate it out. So that's why we brought this dog food. So the last thing I'm going to do is the smell test. The smell test and the show test. This is the test to tell me if I smell fish. As it says, it's got all this fish in there. It actually has Manhattan fish oil and the salmon in there. I forgot to mention the Manhattan fish oil. So let's give it a smell. And I smell the fish in there. I smell fish, man. I smell quality. There is no grains in this food. So no grains whatsoever. And that will tell you that there's not a lot of carbs in here. Everything will take a long time to break down, and that's what we want. We want our dogs to not be hungry, not to be hyperactive, and we just want something to hold them over until the next feeding. So click the link in the bio, man. Show some love.